What's up, guys? Skippy Africanus here, and today we have the after range report with the Pioneer Arms PPS43, specifically in 9mm. And I will note that this is actually this is after 2 range trips, which luckily I took that second range trip because we found out some important things in regards to this gun. Which you probably are seeing these going right now for about $500 on sale. Even if they weren't on sale, they're like usually in the $560 range, something like that. Unless you have a gun store near you that thinks these are worth $800 for whatever reason. But yeah, they're fairly cheap, so I figure a lot of people are probably looking at them and they're like, well, you know, for $500, this thing looks friggin' cool, and it most certainly does. However, there is one thing to keep in mind, and that is, at least on this example in particular, and do note that this is a brand new gun. You can see it on the side, actually. It's stamped with the year 2023 right there. This is a brand new gun right from the factory, and one of the things that turned out to be a major problem with this was first range trip. I was getting a lot of either failure to feeds. So either it just flat out would not feed a cartridge, or the cartridge would end up getting stuck as it was feeding, and the bullet would kind of, you know, sink down because it gets slammed into the bottom. I was thinking that this was maybe the cause of limp wristing, because this thing is kind of weird to hold, but I was thinking about it. I was like, well, I had some weird issue like that with my 458 SOCOM, where when I SBR'd it, I noticed that problem went, the failure to feeds and all that, the problems went away. Random cat over here. But yeah, initially I had considered that maybe it was something like that, but then I was like, you know, that kind of doesn't make sense, because this thing is fairly weighty, and it wasn't like that one where I didn't have to hold it as weird as like the 458 AR pistol. So I was like, maybe something else is up. Took it home and did something that I frankly didn't want to do, because one thing I will mention is this thing uses a free-floating firing pin with a firing pin behind it on a spring, unless it's broken. It might just be broken, but I'm assuming that's what they did, though. It looks like it is a free-floating, like, small firing pin in the front, and then you have a long rod that the hammer hits against, and that's your spring-loaded portion. I don't really know why they would do that, but again, it might be broken. But anyways, I did not want to... This is a gun that I do not want to load unless I really have it pointed in a safe, like, you know, not necessarily in a safe direction. I had it pointed there, obviously, but definitely a gun I don't want to have go off, like from a slam fire. And this one looks like it's prone to it, because that free-floating firing pin, I'm not going to say it's too tough to push in, but you have to physically push in, and that's normally never a thing you want to have with one. So I was being cautious with that, and that was one thing off the bat I noticed. I was like, you know, I kind of don't like that whole thing right there. But anyways, I took this home, and what I ended up doing was, because I was noticing that there is some play, especially in this magazine, like in pushing it up. So one thing I was kind of wondering on was, you know, maybe it's not fully up enough. So what I did was, well, at first I just had it, you know, like that, freestanding, went to go rack it. And that's where I was definitely getting plenty of issues with feeding. Most of the time it just flat out wouldn't even feed. Then I took it, put some pressure on it. This mag in particular, I actually had to put a lot of pressure. Well, not like too much, but definitely a considerable amount. Was noticing it was feeding, and then today I took it to the range, and that seemed like it stopped 99% of the problems with this thing. Which initially, when I was getting all these problems, I'm gonna be honest, I was flat out gonna send this back to the factory. You know, one thing that I was kind of getting annoyed with was when I was trying to diagnose these problems was the, you know, intent to tinker with these to get it to work. This is a brand new gun, and quite frankly, like, I don't think Pioneer Arms technically makes them, but Radon, or that factory, whatever makes them. This is a brand new gun, and it should work out of the box. I was just going to flat out send it back. Like, you know, I like tinkering stuff myself, but I was prepared to send this whole thing back. because in my opinion, it's inexcusable to not make a gun that works and sell it, $500. I mean, that's not a lot of money for, some people, like, wasn't too bad for me buying it, but I mean, still though, I think that's kind of ridiculous. But that being said, the actual issue that came into play, well, I can certainly shoot it for my needs. I don't mind having, so on this one, like I said, I kind of have to put like a little bit of pressure on it to get it to, not have misfeeds. And by the way, I will be posting shooting clips at the end of this video. But I did have to do that, and just hold it like that, which really was, I mean, you're going to hold it like this anyways. Holding it right here wasn't too much of an issue. And on this mag, actually, for the most part, it pretty much ran. I really didn't have to put much pressure on, just kind of the gravity of the gun itself. But yeah, overall, it seems like 99% of the problems have to do with the magazines themselves, which, by the way, the 9mm ones will use these modified magazines. So, yeah, I mean, there was another issue I was getting with this, which was somewhat frequent. And to be honest, I'm almost thinking it might be curable by a hotter ammo, which was the bolt was not going all the way forward. Very rare. I think hotter ammo might actually solve that problem. But yeah, overall, if you are considering purchasing one of these, do note, now, this is for just my gun in particular. There have definitely been people that have gotten these and, they had way worse issues, like stuff like bullets, or not bullets, but casings going back into the receiver or jamming up in here. I had one stovepipe, by the way, but not too common. There are people that will get a ton of those. So do note that on mine in particular, all it seems to be the problem with is the magazines. And I guess running hotter ammo. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that'll probably fix it. But yeah, so overall, I did get it to run. I mean, for $500, I was, if it wasn't going to run, and I will tell you, if yours does not run, this whole idea of tinkering with these to get them to work, nah, fuck that. Send it right back to the factory. Brand new guns, these should work right out of the box. I don't like that whole idea of, yeah, tinkering stuff is fun, but I mean, if you have a brand new gun, it makes, if you decide to tinker with this stuff, and you don't send it back, these companies have no incentive to actually make a product that works. So that being said, like mine ran just fine. Personally, I would probably purchase this again, knowing that was the issue, because it wasn't too bad. Like I said, holding it by the magazine didn't bother me too much. But I mean, do keep that in mind that you will potentially have to do that if you buy this. But anyways, that is the after range report with this thing. Everything else considered, when it works, it was quite the fun gun to shoot. I will definitely still be SBRing this, because that is one thing. These are very front heavy. So I will be SBRing mine. Whether or not you care about that is up to you. But pretty cool gun. Yeah, so we'll be going into the shooting videos, and I kind of show you those malfunctions I was talking about. But overall, that's kind of the gist of how it ran today. Alright, so this is when I first brought it out. This is the first magazine run through this thing, which, mind you, I don't know that I mentioned it, but I had to load about 34 rounds as opposed to 35. I mean, close enough. I wasn't too bothered by that. But anyways, this is where I got kind of perplexed, because you will notice that this magazine runs fine without zero issues. The next one's the one I had the problems with, and then as we went on throughout the day, after that next one, I went to go load up the first one, because I was like, well, that one ran fine. Maybe the second one I ran is just terrible. And as it turns out, the first one also started experiencing the same issues, though not as severe as that second one.
Thank you much. Thank you. You keeping your 9mm too, man?
Yeah, you can sweep that up if you want. I'm fine. I'm not gonna keep it.
Cool.
Alright, so now we go into when I shot it today. This is my second range trip with this thing, and it is running pretty much flawlessly. This first magazine is that more better one, which that one I kind of just have to hold it by the mag and let gravity kind of force it down enough. The second magazine is the more trouble child, and I have to kind of push it into the gun a little bit. But overall, I am still able to get through both magazines, loaded to, I think I should have loaded them to about 34 rounds each. Both magazines ran perfectly fine, so that was the only thing with this gun was I just have to have a little bit of pressure on that magazine to make sure it's properly seated.